Hey, what's up, guys? Good morning, sweet people of Brazil and Brazilians living all around the world. I hope that this finds you well. So, we have another Ask Me Anything question today. And again, for people just joining us today, I have been quite sick for the last few days, so apologies for my voice and any sounds that you may hear during this audio. And also today I am leaving the windows open, so you will hear the chirping and chattering of birds because it makes me happy and it makes me feel good. And if you have problems with beautiful birds in the forest, then that's your problem. So anyway, today we have a great question. And the question of today is, let me see. Okay, cool. Here's a good one. So I can understand native speakers talking to me, but I have much more difficulty understanding native speakers talking to each other. Is there any way to lessen this difficulty? Yes, so this is an awesome question. So let me just clarify a few things before we begin. First, we have received some variation of this question on several occasions. So really, there are two big points here. First, it is much easier when you are speaking with someone in a one-on-one setting, like a one-on-one environment, like a private class or something of that sort. And then we have two issues of, imagine if you're in the United States and you have two Americans and they are speaking to each other and you are not involved. It is much more difficult to follow and understand that conversation. Or simply if you are in a big group and there are like 5 people speaking at the same time, that's much more difficult than a one-on-one conversation, right? And finally, just talking about this question, the person that asked this question says, is there any way to lessen this difficulty? That is totally fine. That's actually a beautiful phrase. I do think it's quite formal. Honestly, I would probably say, is there anything I can do to make this easier or something like that? But yes, there is. There are a lot of ways that you can train this skill and this ability. So this is something that I personally had a lot of problems with when I was learning Portuguese. And to be really honest, I still have some problems with this today. So first of all, you have to accept the fact that this is totally natural. When someone is speaking directly to you, it is easier to understand them because they are probably thinking about the way they are speaking and they are conscious of the fact that you are not a native speaker, and it's just much easier to follow a one-on-one conversation compared to a big group. And secondly, talking about a group of friends of native speakers speaking amongst each other, groups of friends tend to talk really fast together. You know, they have their own unique and special slang and expressions that they use. They have personal stories that you probably do not understand the full context. So it's much more difficult to follow along in those conversations 100% of the time. Let me mention one more thing. It is also, at least in my personal experience, it's much easier to understand someone when you know them. So for example, when I was in Brazil, my friends, and still today when I speak to my Brazilian friends, I can understand them like 95%. But when I meet a new person that I've never talked to before, it's much more difficult for me to understand them. Simply because when you're friends with someone, you feel more comfortable. You've already had experience with the way they talk. You understand their intonation and their accent. So a lot of different things are going on in this situation. But with all of that out of the way, there are two kind of techniques or methods that have really personally helped me improve this skill with my Portuguese. So let's talk about that and see if it can potentially help your English. So first, on a very practical level, if you are in a group of native speakers and it seems like everyone is talking super, super fast at the same time, what I try to do, what I recommend, is just try to focus on one person at a time. This will help you understand more of the context. And if you have a question, you can ask that one person directly. So if everyone's talking about politics at the same time, and then all of a sudden someone says, "Hey, Foster, what do you think about that?" I can look to the one person that I'm focusing on and kind of ask for clarification or something like that. And they can immediately give me the context that I need to fill in the gaps that I was missing from the other people in the group that were speaking way too fast, right? So first recommendation is just do not try to understand everyone at the same time. Try to focus on one person. Secondly, when I recognized I was having a lot of difficulties in big groups, especially like meeting Alexia's family and going to Minas Gerais and eating lunch at holidays, and there are like 20 people, and it seems like they're all screaming at the same time, and I have no idea what's going on. When that happened, that's when I started listening to a lot of podcasts and radio shows with more than two people. So a lot of podcasts are just simply interviews, and those are quite easy to understand because it's basically the same thing as a conversation, right? Someone is asking questions, someone's answering questions. It's like a one-on-one conversation. But if you have 5 or 10 people speaking, for example, at like a round table discussion or debate, or I don't know, like a round table event on politics or current events, then it's much more difficult to follow every single word. And naturally, you can do the same thing with TV shows or movies, because TV shows and movies have a lot of people talking at the same time and a lot of difficult and sophisticated dialogues. But in my personal experience, just using audio is much more effective because it really forces you to pay attention to what each person is saying. You have to really pay attention to the sounds, to the phonetics, and you don't have any extra external influences like body movements or anything like that that are giving you clues to the conversation. So with audio, you are getting directly to the point. There's no way to like kind of cheat your understanding. It's not cheating. That's a bad way to put it. But there are no extra signals and signs that are giving you hints and clues about what this group of people is talking about. If you are simply listening to the audio, you are really putting your English to the test because you understand it or you don't, right? I think those are my 2 best recommendations for now. First, in big groups, try to focus on one person at a time. And secondly, listen to a lot of audio with more than 2 people, like debates, roundtable discussions, etc. So guys, we will be back to our normal scheduled programming tomorrow. I hope this has helped you, and I appreciate your patience while we are in somewhat of a recovery mode. So thanks a lot, sweet people. We will talk to you tomorrow. Bye-bye.